Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Surviving first week of May. Hopefully everybody is wishing to be back on the field, and hopefully we'll be there. Too much. Anyway, hopefully you heard all that because I just got an alert to unmute. So anyway, so we'll get started. This week we're going to look at transition from attacking to defending. So we've had the ball and we now have lost the ball and we've got to start our defending phase. So lots of ways to look at this. So we'll look at some just general ideas with this, and coaches who are on, if Nate, if you can make it so they can, I think everybody can unmute themselves, but coaches, at any point you want to chime in, Jesse, I know Jesse likes to do that. That's fine. Any other coach who wants to chime in on how they do this, please feel free, and just kind of their thoughts on this. So for me personally, I don't want to say I don't believe in transitions, but I don't separate transition as a separate moment of the game. If for the players, coaches generally talk about 4 moments of the game: attacking, defending, attacking like we're talking about today, attacking transition from attack to defense, and then transition from defense to attack, which is what we'll look at next week. So, and generally speaking, in the coaching world, the transition moment is looked at as a separate phase. My opinion is we either have the ball or we don't have the ball. When we have the ball, that the way that we want to attack or possess is the same regardless of what moment we're in, whether it's we've just won the ball back or whether we are in the middle of connecting 50 passes. The principles for me and the objectives for me are the same, so I don't really separate them. Same thing defending. Our principles and objectives are the same, so I don't really look at them as separate. That doesn't mean it's right and other people are wrong, or vice versa. It's just the way that I look at the game. So other coaches may have different opinion. Other coaches might be super high press, and they really want to get organized. And then you might have another coaches wants to be really organized and not worry so much about the pressure, but make sure that as a group, you're not really organized in your team shape, and that's the first priority. So anyway, so coaches, please feel free to chime in. So we'll get going here. Oh, I need to share my screen. I'm jumping ahead of myself here.
Yeah, Joe, I closed all the mute. I muted everybody but 1 or 2 people. So
okay, perfect.
If people want to talk, they can hit it through the chat, and I can let them talk.
There you go.
That might be easier for everybody.
Yeah, that's fine. And then next week for sure, coaches. I think like attacking, defending. I think it's fairly general across the board. I don't think there's a lot of variation, but next week for sure, when we go from defending to attacking, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of varying opinions, but even today, if we get some difference in opinion, that's awesome. But next week for sure, coaches, if you can think about what your priorities are once you've won the ball back, that'd be fantastic, because I think we're going to get a lot of different viewpoints on that. So anyway, enough yapping about other things. Let's get going with today's webinar. So transition, attack to defend. Today's clips are the 2005 girls team. They had some really good clips, so we've used those. There's not a ton of clips today, so that's what we're gonna look at. All right, so the 2005s, we did this session with you guys not too long ago, so you should be experts at this by now. All right, 2008's you as well. We did this with the 2005 and 2008 girls, so our version of this. So anyway, game principles. We're defending. All right, we want to deny the most dangerous space to an opponent that an opponent can exploit, force them into predictable areas, and apply a maximum individual collective pressure possible to regain possession. This is defending. All right, so the same thing applies as soon as we lose the ball, or if we are defending in a phase where the other team has completed a number of passes consecutively. This is our focus. This is the general idea of defending. So principles, all right? Pressure, affect the ball carrier, eliminate space as much as possible. This is all review, obviously. Force, can we make the player with the ball go into a predictable area or to a smaller area of the field, all right? Preferably both of those things, all right? And then deny, we do not want them to get to the most dangerous spaces on the field. If you think about last week's webinar about creating goal scoring chances, we looked at where the 5 most dangerous areas of the field are in terms of and scoring goals. So obviously those would be high priority. Can we keep them out of those areas? All right, can we keep them as far away from those as possible? But at the end of the day, can we keep them out of those 5 areas in particular that yield the most goal scoring chances? All right, so again, defending principles: pressure the ball, force it one way, and deny their ability to create chances close to our goal. Our objectives: all right, can we win the ball back? All right, can we destroy the play? All right, can we disrupt it? All right, so obviously if we lost the ball and we're defending, if we can get it right back, that's fantastic. If we can disrupt them so they don't ever really get into a rhythm of play, then that's obviously helpful for us as well. If they can do that thing, can we make them predictable so they can't go to bigger areas of the field and they can't go to areas of the field where we're maybe not as prepared to defend? All right, and then secure. All right, can we make sure that we reduce the space into the most dangerous areas of the field? One thing I'll say is when you look at these clips, these don't happen in order. All right, so if we've not won the ball and we go to disrupt, we destroy it either. Now we're making it predictable. These things happen, they ebb and flow. All right, so we might not be able to win the ball, we might not be able to destroy the ball, we may not even be able to make it predictable. So we just want to make it secure. All right, and once we make it secure, perhaps we have an opportunity to win the ball. Perhaps because we drop off and they try to play a long ball over the top, we win the ball back and we skip 2 of the other steps, the destroy and the make predictable part. So these things kind of happen, and we'll see in some of the clips how this is not a checklist. So we don't go in order and we do this, we do this, and we do that, and then we do that. They're going to ebb and flow throughout individual moments in the game. So this is an example of team objectives, all right? So this is only one coach's viewpoint on this. Like I said, I think most coaches would have pretty similar objectives, maybe not, and I'll give you an example after I've gone through this. All right, but for the most part, these are going to be pretty. So once we've lost it, can we put immediate pressure on the ball? Generally, that's going to be the nearest player to the ball or to the ball carrier, because sometimes the ball, we lose possession of the ball, but they don't have a player by it either, so it's just sitting in a dead zone where nobody is. So we want to get the player who is closest to the ball to go to it, or if one of their players has the ball in their possession, then we want to get a player to go to it. Again, usually that's the player closest to the ball. Sometimes there's more than one player, and we'll see that in one of the clips as well. So we've got to make a decision about who it's going to be, and everybody needs to understand what happens after that and maybe why that player, one player would choose to go and put pressure on her as opposed to another player who might be just as close to the ball. All right, then we need to organize. All right, so we need to move to either help pressure, all right, the defender who is that first defender, that primary defender, all right, or we need to create numbers around the ball so that we have more players between the ball and the goal. All right, so we need to get organized. All right, then can we delay? All right, so can we make it take as long as possible, all right, for the other team to progress the ball down toward their goal? All right, so obviously the longer it takes them to get there, the less likely it becomes that they're going to score. All right, and then we want to dictate. We want to make sure that we force, all right, the ball into the areas of the field where we expect it or want it to go. All right, so again, so these are examples. All right, some teams may not put as much emphasis on the immediate pressure. All right, because if you put an emphasis on immediate pressure, all right, and we think of high press or counter pressing in that moment, everybody has to be on the same page. So if one player goes and the rest of the team does not react, then that can leave gaps. So your coach might say, hey, the first thing I want to do is get organized. I want to get as many numbers, and then I want to dictate. I want to try to force them into a certain area of the field. And then if we can put pressure on, we will do that. So when we think we've not talked about it, but it would be called mid-block defending. So we get organized on the ball in the middle of the field, that middle third of the field. So if your team's strategy is more of that, then dictate and dictate, delay, and organize are going to be a bigger priority in some order, all right, than immediate pressure, generally speaking. Not all the time, but generally speaking. Example is a couple of years ago, I had a crazy athletic team. On this team, we had 15 seniors on that team. 13 of them played Division I soccer. And in their freshman year, 11 of them saw, 7 of them started and 11 saw significant minutes. And the 2 who did not were actually injured going into the freshman season and redshirted. So we had a team with 13 Division I level players on it, and they were fast and they were athletic and they were aggressive. And so we could press like crazy. So our 90% of the time when we lost the ball, it was press immediately and with numbers. So not just one player, but the closest players to the ball, you go press. That was that team. The next year we came back, and the U19 team I had was very smart. They weren't nearly as athletic. They had athleticism, but they weren't as athletic as that first group. But we did not press as much. They were somewhat confused because they knew that the team the year before pressed a lot, and they asked me why. And we pressed in training one time against we played a younger boys group, and we got shredded for like 15 minutes. And then we said, okay, we're not pressing anymore. And they could see why. They just didn't collectively move as quickly as that group the year before. They had individuals who could, but collectively they couldn't, so they struggled to press. So we focus more on the organize and dictate, all right? Those are our 2 big emphases, I guess is the plural for that, after we lost the ball. So it just depends year to year. So just 2 examples of how and why maybe your emphasis as a coach may be a little bit different, all right? But again, these will change, all right? And next week, again, when we go to the defend to attack, we'll probably see a lot of variation in terms of how coaches want to defend. So defending team tasks. So these are things that as a group you need to do when we're defending, all right? And these apply particularly to transition moments, all right? So there's some things that maybe we might do in a normal defending situation that we're going to prioritize a little bit more here. So again, if you can immediately counter press or put pressure on the ball after the loss of possession, that's something that most teams want to do. Again, it's still going to be a team task for most coaches, but it may not be as high of a priority, all right? Make the ball carrier predictable, all right? Create numbers up. No matter how your coach wants to play, this is definitely going to be on the list. It's going to be high up there. So create numbers up, opportunities to force the ball into specific areas of the field or force the ball into areas where we are going to be able to win it back. And then we're going to want to shrink the field as much as possible. If we try to defend the whole field, watched a clip that I hadn't seen for a while from Johan Cruyff. And if you don't know who Johan Cruyff is, go to YouTube and check him out. He basically said, if I have to defend the whole field, I am a terrible defender. If I have to defend in the smallest space possible, I am a fantastic defender. So we want to shrink the field, all right, and make it as small as possible. And again, that's going to depend on the location of your primary pressure on the ball, all right, and the quality of that primary pressure. The better the pressure, the tighter we can squeeze behind the pressure. The lower the pressure, the looser the pressure, the more we have to worry about the space over and behind us. So more team tasks, collective movement. Again, we talked about that pressing team. They moved collectively really well. And then next year, just collectively, they didn't move as well, as quickly. They moved well together at a little bit slower pace when it was a little bit more predictable. But we needed to make sure we had that collective movement to create and maintain compactness in order to defend well. So we need to keep play in front of as many lines as possible and deny their opportunity to switch. If we're forcing it into smaller areas of the field, then we have to make sure that we keep it there. All right. Obviously, we want to deny goal scoring chances, and we'd like to regain possession of the ball. All right. And then we need to anticipate actions when we do regain possession of the ball. So what's next if I get it? Can I think ahead a little bit? Some players are better at that than others. Some players have more time on the field to do that. The further away from the ball you are, the more time you have probably to think about what will I do if my teammate nearest the ball wins it, all right? you have more time. If you're the player who is immediately defending, you're the first defender or the pressure defender, you probably aren't going to have a lot of time to think about that. So the further away from the ball you are, generally speaking, the more time you'll have to do that. But it's still important to have a pretty good idea of what you're trying to achieve, even if you're that primary defender. Are you trying to win it? Are you trying to tackle it? Are you trying to force it into an area? And then what happens next? Can I kind of anticipate what may happen after I've completed that action? So player tasks, all right, speed, angle, distance to primary pressure, all right, distance, secondary support, all right, so however that first defender is defending, the defenders behind that are going to defend in relation to it. So again, if there's high pressure, they can go and be more aggressive. If the pressure is not good enough, they have to be a little bit more cautious about their positioning, all right? And then transition between, again, you'll see this, we have transition between zonal and direct player marking. All right, so at times you're gonna occupy a zone and anticipate the ball going in there, and at other times you may directly mark an opposing player to eliminate them. All right, and as soon as the ball moves, then we might transition back. So if I'm marking a player, I might go back into zone as soon as the pass is played from one player to another player. All right, and then we need to make sure that we immediately confront players receiving the ball in pockets of space where we want the ball to go. So it's no good to force them into an area and then just let them have the ball with no pressure. And then we also need to make sure that if the ball is played into areas of the field where they can turn and go at us, all right, or turn and switch, that we confront those players as well so that we delay them at the very least. We win individual battles. This is important. All right, and individual battles we think of as 1v1, the ball carrier and the pressure defender. That is true, obviously, but there are other individual battles to win. So if I want to force the ball to their opposing fullback, and I'm the 7 or the 11, the wingers, and I go too close to that opposing fullback, then I might allow a pass on my inside shoulder further up the field to one of their midfielders or to their forwards, and now I'm eliminated from defending, and my teammates, I've eliminated some other teammates as well from defending. So now instead of us defending with 10 field players, we're defending with 6 or 7. So that's an individual battle I have to win. My position has to be good in relation to the player or the area that I'm responsible for when I'm defending. All right, clarity of action. I need to know what I'm doing. Am I trying to win the ball, destroy the play, force the ball carrier, or am I trying to deny penetration? All right, I have to be clear in that so I know what I'm doing, and then hopefully that transmits to my teammates as well. They understand what I'm trying to do in that moment, and then they can act accordingly based on my own actions, as opposed to I have no idea what he's doing. I don't know if he's trying to win that ball or pressure it. Do I drop? Do I step? What do I do? Positioning to encourage pass, move in desired areas, all right, and double team the ball carrier whenever possible. All right, so again, most of those are review, all right, but we want to make sure we go through them so that we connect it. I think it's always important that when we look at video and we talk about the game, we have to have some objective reference points for it. So I know we go through like those principles and team tasks and everything frequently in the webinars, but they're for a reason. Like hopefully you hear them enough that you start to think about them when you're watching the game. Obviously, you haven't played a game since we've started doing these, but hopefully that's the intention, is that those thoughts are there, or those ideas are there, and you don't have to put as much thought into them because they almost become automatic in your thinking. And again, when we talk about what's happening on the screen, it's good to have these objective reference points as opposed to like talking about, well, I think and I feel like, or well, in this case, you should do that. We always want to connect it to, we should do this because the principle and the tasks tell us this is the best way, or typically the best way to go about it. All right. So again, this is the 05s. All right. Obviously, they are in white, not in orange. All right. So you're going to see they're in the attack. Okay. Lost the ball. So there's the ball carrier for Salvo. All right. And win possession. You got 4 defenders in the area and they're all looking at it. All right. So now the immediate pressure goes to the ball carrier. Now, if you go back just slightly, 2 players who are relatively close. All right. This player is pretty close and could have stepped. and this player could have stepped. All right, now, we didn't have 118 people, I'd open this up. But I want to look at something because I ask a question here. All right, and when we have a smaller group, it's easier. That's why I kind of like the team webinars, because we can chat a little bit as a group. But it's important that this player decide. We could have done it if this player would have stepped. All right, if this player would have stepped, we still could have defended this well. So it's not like there's always a 100% right or wrong answer. It's not always concrete. All right, but I do think it's better this player steps to force it. All right, and we talked about zonal versus direct player marking. This player right here is kind of doing both at once. All right, she's in a zone, but it's also marking this player and eliminating her from the game. All right, so if this player would have stepped, this player is free with nobody really to take responsibility for her, and there's a chance that maybe they could have gotten out by using that player. All right, here they don't really have any options to play forward. All right, and if you look, we're gonna because this player steps. All right, we're gonna force them into an area of the field where they only have this one player. They don't have anybody else here. If this player steps and forces the play back this way, you can see one, that's a bigger part of the field, and one of our tasks and principles is force the play into smaller areas. All right, and we also want to create numbers up, which we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus their 1, 2, 3. If we go this way, obviously they have better numbers. Do they outnumber us? I don't know. I don't really feel like counting right now, but definitely they have more options if we force the play inside. So it's good that I think this is I think this is the best decision that they could make. The other one would have been bad. It just meant we would have had to defend it differently. So you see this player eliminates the wide player as an option, and she's also forcing the ball carrier to go inside. This player is zonal marking, all right, and she ends up winning the ball back or attempting to win it back. Great transition here. Let me just go back and highlight that again. So initially this player was a secondary defender. All right, she was a secondary defender, and now all of a sudden she has to become the primary defender. All right, so she quickly reacted. All right, mental and physical transition. So she's anticipating that next action. All right, or at least reacting well to it. If she didn't have an idea of what she needed to do, then her reaction time would have been longer and potentially not been able to put as much pressure on this ball carrier. All right, but as it is, we see we have good structure. All right, we're going to force her. Now it's back to the middle, but we have pretty good organization right now. You see that player steps to double team the ball, and she went to win the ball. So she had clarity of action in what she was doing. When she stepped, again, we look at this structure right here. It's going to be difficult for Salvo to go into this bigger part of the field because of the way that the 05s have organized. All right, and then once this defender forces, she steps, and you see she's just waiting, said, oh, I'm going to tackle it. I'm going to destroy the play. She ends up winning the ball. All right, and we end up keeping possession pretty close to their goal. All right, so we can kind of see all those different things happen at one time. The idea of immediate pressure on the ball, forcing the play, all right, making it predictable, getting organized. We see all those things come into play, but they're not necessarily in an order. They happen pretty quickly, and they're not always clean and in order. All right. All right. So this next, let's see if we can get this. So right now, ball's right here. Nobody has clear possession of the ball. All right. Nobody has clear possession of the ball. So again, for me, this is why, like when I look at transition, I think they're a little bit messy sometimes in the moments because of what should you be doing right now? We're in a transition moment. All right, which transition moment? Well, I don't really know. So for me, we either have the ball or we don't have the ball. So in this moment, I would say we don't have the ball, so we are defending. And what are we going to do to defend? Well, we want to put possessions uncertain, as you see there. We want to get immediate pressure on the ball. Well, we have somebody fighting for the ball. So you see we have organization right now. We've got a player here. Let me go back here, alert and ready in this covering position. She's anticipating the next thing is going to be we're losing possession. If we don't lose possession, she's in great shape still because she can be a player who's available to drop it. All right. If this player wins the ball, she can just come right back here with the pass. So great positioning here. Again, the remaining players who are on this side are all anticipating that we are losing possession. They are treating this as we do not have possession. So they're all moving into recovering positions. We're able to force them backward and delay. All right. Very good structure here, protecting the middle of the field, protecting those most dangerous areas, and we have 6v5 numerical superiority. So we've done really well there, all right? And we actually end up forcing them back again. All right, now they're able to escape. So we talk about a player who receives the ball facing forward between the lines. We need to confront her, all right? Now, this defender, what we've highlighted, she does a good job of closing down the play as much as she possibly can. If she goes in faster than this, the ball carrier probably goes right around her, and now we're in an even more difficult situation, right? But her body position, she really exaggerates her body position and takes up an angle. So remember that player task, the angle of our pressure. So she really exaggerates that and says, you know what, I don't want to let you come back to the middle of the field. So I really want to make sure that I force you out wide. So fantastic. All right. Really good defending given the situation. All right. Now what we should see, all right, based on that positioning of that primary defender, we should be as a group right now sliding more toward the touchline because this player has made it really predictable. The ball is going to go into this channel somewhere in here. So we should all slide over, all right? This player right now, I mean, she could be waiting. Well, I don't know. I don't know if we're allowed to take Ubers right now under a shutdown or not, but she could have ordered up an Uber and just been waiting for it, all right? So she's irrelevant. We don't really have to pay very much attention to her because the likelihood of the ball getting switched directly into this player is very low. So we can lose her and shift across. We can shift across. We can shift across. We can shift across here. All right, because of the job this defender is doing. So we don't do a bad job, but we definitely could do a better job in this moment. All right, because we see that pass. All right, this pass is going to beat the defender because we have not shifted quickly enough. We've not closed the touch line down. All right, where our primary defender was showing the salvo ball carrier, she's able to play a pass behind our back line. All right, and we have to react to it. All right, so again, if we would have shifted over, we probably would have killed the passing lane, all right, for this ball to go through, all right, and made it more difficult for them. All right, so not a great moment. So again, I'll give you another part of my theory on transitions. I don't know that you guys really care, but just in case. So for me, transition, even when we have the ball or we don't have the ball, transitions are happening. So this for me is a transition moment. We've lost the ball. We've done a good job to control the player. So we're kind of in an organized defensive phase. Now all of a sudden the ball gets played into an area of the field here. Well, we've got to react, and everybody's got to move together collectively to get back into this area to defend well. For me, that's a transition. Even though we didn't have the ball, we were in a clear defending phase. So yeah, so that's just kind of like what I think about it. I think the game is just messy, and the whole game is transitions really for me. So anyway, I digress. So ball gets played in here. We're going to see the 05s do a really good job, though, okay? They could have done better in this initial phase, but you see this fantastic recovery. Excellent individual recovery to apply pressure, and then you see the group does a good job to get back. There's really not a lot for Salvo to do in this moment, all right? So this player recovered delaying, all right? Her teammates are getting organized, all right? And now we see it most of the time if we do that, most attacking players just kind of panic, all right, and they give you the ball relatively easily, all right? So we're still in this phase here where it's a transition, and we step now, and we go forward, all right? So good clip. Even though we had that little hiccup there, I want to make sure everybody's not. We're not being too critical of the 05s. What happened there with that pass? That's the game. That happens. Like, we have to be ready for things to not always go perfectly and not go our way. And the way they dealt with it was fantastic and a good demonstration of defending transition, all right? Just in a different way. So now, again, got the ball deep in their zone. Player from Salvo makes a decent interception, all right? Whoop, didn't mean to do that. Took me to the third slide though, so usually I do it like very early. So good defending. So right now, this defender knows, all right, hey, I'm not in a situation, like this is kind of a messy situation, so I'm just going to delay, all right? So excellent recovery here, all right, to just get in front of the ball carrier and try to slow her down. And you see that body position. Oh, I did it again. See, I gave myself 2 more there, that last one. Let's go back here. So excellent recovery, and now we see her body position. Fantastic. She buys time, and look at, she's really forcing it inside. Now, while she's forcing it inside, we might say, well, why would we force it inside? Why would we say that's good in that moment? All right. And again, if this is a smaller group, then we could definitely have a better discussion. But here, there's no teammates really for Salvo. All right. At best, it's 3v2. All right. At worst, all right, you say this is 1v1, same as out here. But right now, this player is matched 1v1 outside. She's running away or toward her goal, I should say. Her back is to the ball carrier. This player's in here. Nice little gap to play a pass. So I think it makes sense in this moment. And we're still fairly far away from goal, or far enough away from goal. We're forcing inside, makes sense. But we again see the recovery of the 05 players, all right, that ends up giving that player time. Again, let's just go back here. See the recovery, it buys the time, and we'll see this player in particular right here does a great job. Oh, you know what? I can come back and I can double team the ball, and we recover the ball rather easily. All right. We're not going to talk about that foul. All right. But we recognize that possession's lost. All right. And she's going to put immediate pressure. Now, maybe you see she's a bit upright, and I don't think super clear. She knows she's putting pressure, but what is her task? All right. What is her task? Is she trying to win the ball? Is she trying to regain the ball? Is she trying to force it one way, or is she trying to deny penetration? And that's something, as a defender, you see this a lot. It's just something to have in your mind. Again, this is why we focus on these things every week, or at least every time we talk about a defending topic. Her immediate reaction is 100% correct. All right. So that's great. So now how do we get better as an individual player? Well, now we have to focus on, okay, I recognize that I had to do something. I had to confront the ball carrier, right? I had to affect her. But what was I trying to do, right? And I really only have 4 options. So it's not like I have to make a ton of decisions or choose from a ton of different options. I really only have 4 options to choose from, right? And many times you'll find that 1 or 2 of those options are probably not applicable, right? Like deny penetration. That one might not be. That's probably like the least aggressive of all of the situations, or all the tasks, I should say. So it was probably one of the first 3. Do I make it predictable? Do I destroy it? Or do I try to win the ball? All right. And because we don't really make a decision, all right, it's a little bit easy to get around it. Now, all right, we're collective. So the opponent receives the ball facing the wrong way, not a strong pass. So that allows this player to be a little bit more aggressive and make sure that this ball carrier goes backward with the pass, as opposed to turning and coming forward. So good defending there. And again, this is something to think about. It's not always clean. We talk about it on a slide like it makes complete sense. It's logical and it follows an order, but it doesn't. So that initial defender, makes that little bit of an error in terms of not choosing a task, right? But her teammate says, no problem, I got you. All right. That's what we're there for. So if we're defending collectively, all right, then it's going to be a lot easier for us to recover, and it's going to be a lot easier for us. If we make a mistake, no worry. Somebody else has our back, all right? So she recognizes this opportunity. She closes the ball down, forces the play backward, all right? So we have delayed their attack, all right? And now we see the pressure is going to be applied again, and we're just going to drop into this hole, all right? Good. And we're going to intercept the ball, and we're going to go the other way, all right, for a decent counterattack. They lose it again. Now we're a little bit patient. So this time she has a pretty good idea of what's going on. She's waiting, right? She's delaying. She's like, I'm going to wait for this player to come to me, and then I'm going to decide what I'm going to do. But I'm going to put myself in a position. The ball carrier is running. So I'm going to let the ball carrier get close. She's going to close herself down for me. I'm just going to stand here and wait for her. And if I can win it, I will. If I can tackle it, I will. If I can't do that, then I'm just going to try to force it into one direction. All right. And we see the cover defender behind her. That little space in here is all they have to play. That's where they try to force the ball. So very easy for the 05s to win the ball back. All right. So again, excellent picture there. Excellent defending. All right. So here we have a bouncing ball. Player receives it, doesn't get turned. So the 05s do a good job. But you see them, there's only one place she's going to go. So the 05s all squeeze here. You look at this organization they have right now. All right, we forced them into a smaller area of the field. All right, we've organized. All right, so our pressure, I wouldn't say that we go back here, I wouldn't say that our pressure is tremendous. It's not bad, but given the situation, decent pressure, enough of pressure. Remember when we said when we want to put pressure on the ball carrier, what are we doing? We're trying to affect the ball carrier. We've affected the ball carrier by making her feel that she has to, rather than turn, she has to play out wide to this option, which means she's played into a smaller area, all right, where we've been able to organize and create, all right? So again, because of that, the ball carrier gets distracted and basically just gives the ball back. So that was the last 05 clip. We've got a couple clips here. This is Mexico, USA, U17s from the fall, very early fall. The U17 World Cup qualifiers down at IMG. All right, so we're going to see this. Mexico's in possession. US is going to win it back. So we're going to have a couple of transitions here real quick. So the US gets it. We see that the pursuit, they get forced back. This player on the midfield line, she's receiving with the ball with her back to the goal. Remember, the US is attacking to the left. So she's receiving the ball with their back to goal. So you immediately see pressure being applied by the Mexican defenders. All right, this forces a ball all the way back to the goalkeeper. All right, and so now we're going to see a moment right here. So this player, this forward for Mexico, sees the US player, and she's basically direct player marking her. All right, so she's marking her player for player. All right, so we've got that moment there. This player right here, she's going to, oh, I didn't pause it. I thought I did. We see the player marking, direct player marking. This player is going to sit in this zone. All right, so she's zonal marking into this area of the field. All right, and then we're going to see the player number 7. She's going to go put pressure on the ball carrier, which means the goalkeeper really only has one option, which is to play it long. The back line has been coordinated and stepped up behind their pressure, and they win the ball through the rules of the game, basically, because the U.S. player was offside. So again, because they had clear actions, the back line is able to step up far enough that they pulled the ball offside. And even if this player was onside, all right, we could have put pressure on the ball carrier there. All right, but just those little cues, all right, like this cue in particular. You see a player facing the wrong way, well, let's go put pressure on her, all right? And we can be definitely be more aggressive in that moment. And then this is the little, oh, maybe there is one more you'll find. All right. So we had a good chat with the 05s and 08s about this. So free kick, all right? You see right there, referee signaling a free kick. You see the player put her hand on the ball, all right? So we talk about free kick, and we think, well, what's the first rule of counterattacking for most teams? Immediate pressure on the ball, all right? So it's a free kick. Can we get, let's just watch it through here. So again, there's good and there's bad on this. So they get a free kick. Just look at the picture right now and ask yourself this question, or answer this question to yourself. How many St. Croix players are looking at the ball? Just looking at the ball. Hopefully you came up with the answer of 0. It's debatable if this player is looking at the ball or not. So we'll say 1. That's not good. This player should be looking at the ball. 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 All right. Those are just the players we see in the frame. We can turn and backpedal for sure. All right. Or at least, excuse me, initially we should be looking at the ball to see where they are. And if we need to turn and run, at least we know where the ball is at. So immediate pressure in this moment. Closest player to the ball makes sense for this player to drop off. Could this player just come and put pressure? Just stand over the ball. Just stand over the ball. Delay. All right. That's immediate pressure, and you're delaying, and you're allowing your team to get organized. Now, the worst thing that's going to happen is this little guy in the yellow, all right, or woman in the yellow, depending on what game you're playing. But this little person wearing the yellow with the whistle, the worst case they're going to do is pull out the little yellow card in their pocket and flash it at you. That's the worst thing that's going to happen. All right. And in reality, unless you've done it multiple times in a game, they're probably just going to say, hey, give them 10 yards. Okay. Well, but sorry, like you can even like delay a little. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was that close to them. I didn't realize there was a free kick. I'm sorry. Just have a little chat with them, delay, and allow your team to get organized. All right. So we could immediately put some pressure on the ball. All right. The other thing we can do, if we notice here, that ball's moving. So I'd have been chirping at the referee right away. Like, hey, referee, the ball didn't stop. Ball was rolling when she took the free kick. Somebody needs to be letting that happen, letting that referee know. But again, they take the free kick, and again, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, this one doesn't really count because she's not behind the ball, really. But 5 players looking the wrong way. Only 1 player back to defend. Now, fortunately, she did a great job. You see, she comes across, and she's just trying to make her predictable. All right, is she going to win the ball? Unlikely. All right, is it in her mind like, hey, if I can win this, I'm going to try? Heck yeah, it's there. If I can tackle it, I might have to tackle it, right? That's that situation where you make a phenomenal tackle and you win it, or you don't and you give up a PK, or we all know that sometimes you make a phenomenal tackle, but the referee still decides because somebody fell down that there has to be a foul, and you give up a PK anyway. But she does a great job here of making it predictable and forcing her into a smaller area of the field. Even now, she's in that, remember last week's webinar, she's in that assist zone, but fortunately, there's nobody for her to give an assist to. So given the situation, all right, a good recovery, good recognition here by the 05s to force the ball into the goalkeeper, all right, for a pretty, I don't even think we can classify that as a save, all right, but a good collection, all right, and now they get to live and fight another day. But we definitely need to think about those restarts, even though they're not maybe a traditional transition moment, they definitely are, and we need to take advantage of it. It's not a time to relax. It's a time to have a little bit more heightened sense of awareness and see if we can buy ourselves some time if we are the defending team. And fair play to Salvo in that situation. They did a good job of going right away. So if we're the attacking team, can we steal some time and speed play up a little bit? All right. All right. This is actually the last clip, I believe. So Mexico's in possession. It'll take us a while to get here. All right, so now we lose possession. And you try to get immediate pressure on the ball. All right, but all those numbers are organizing, all right, and they're just trying to make the play predictable. So the very first thing I think we could see here, all right, is right here, this player in particular, if she doesn't track back, it's not a lot that she tracks back, all right, but if she stands, she just kind of chills when we lose the ball and just stands right there. Instead of, look at this, she sees, hey, we're going to lose the ball. The U.S. player doesn't even have the ball yet, and she's already anticipating what's going to happen. Right? Doesn't stand and look at it. Doesn't stand and like, you know, flap her arms in the air because her team lost the ball. Just gets on with it, right? And recovers here. Now, you think that's not a big deal, but now the U.S. can't come back inside. So this player has done a great job of helping her team keep the play in a smaller area of the field. You see this deeper player, she's ready to go. She's trying to force it basically between these players and eliminate this wide player as an option, all right, if possible. That's a big task because it's a decent amount of ground for one player to cover. All right, but even though she does, she knows that's the only option she has. So again, great recovery from Mexico. All right, 2 players around the ball, recovering player to get deep and probably sit in this space right here. And again, keep them to one side. But that recovering player ends up double teaming the ball. Mexico wins it back and they come out of it. So again, they couldn't get great pressure on the ball, but they definitely organized. They kept the play in a smaller area of the field, denied the U.S.'s ability to switch. All right. and then made play predictable, recovered, double teamed the ball, and now they've got it back and can attack again. So I believe, yes, that was the last slide. So hopefully everybody got something out of that. If you have questions, you can stick around, or you can put it into the chat if you like. Coaches, if you guys have anything to add before we go.
I'm going to unmute everybody. So FYI, everybody, I'm unmuting you.
Yeah, if you got a bunch of stuff going on, just remute yourselves. You can
Just want to warn people.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Jeez. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Out. Are you flipping?
Like 100? Yeah.
Leave. Leave. How funny. And a little scary at times. What's it called? Outer Banks. Whoopee. Whoopee.
Joe, did you see Sam's comments during that thing? They were really funny.
Who?
There was a kid named Sam, like Sam the man. You would say something or show a video, and he'd be like, "Ooh, oh no."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, he was dialed in. It was good.
Stop!
He did that yesterday. He did that yesterday too, Joe.
Was that the kid? Yeah, he was in that. Yeah, he was talking about Joaquin.
Yep.
He was giving you your props when you were doing your thing.
Yeah, he was commenting everything yesterday.
It was good. You're fine.
He's an 06, right, Nate?
Yes, he's an 06.
He's with Jake's team and Justin, right?
Correct.
It's funny.
Hey Joe, you really seem comfortable when you're doing that. So like every time I get on here, it's just like it freaks me out, and it's so unnatural. But like when you have such good composure and your info is good, and it's very ESPN like. Oh.
Thanks, Bill. But the trick is, I'm just full of shit.
He just can't sell it as well as you.
Yeah, I know. It just doesn't.
I'm gonna leave, guys. I got training in 10 minutes. I gotta set it up. I'll see you guys.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you, Joe. Bye, Dada.
See ya.
See ya.
I missed all the fun.
Is this training out here?
Yeah. He might be using the same one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, maybe because players are showing up ready to train.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think he
Next
wanted
week, though, I do want. I'll send an email, but like Nate, if you can, like, I think attacking is very different in terms of like what coaches want.
Right.
I think a lot of coaches say, "Can we get the ball forward as quickly as we can?" But like some high pressing teams, I know, just be like Barcelona. Their thing was they didn't want to put the pressure on the ball carrier to find a solution because it was in a tight space. It was just find the best pass you can.
Right.
So I'm be interested to see what coaches want. Like some coaches might not want any dribbling. I don't know. It just might be interesting to see what coaches have to say.
Yeah. Do you want to reach out, or do you want me to reach out to people, or do you want to reach out to people?
Send the whole thing like, hey, on this week's webinar, like if you have, like, I don't know how comfortable some people would be piping up.
Sure.
Like I know Jesse, and I don't mind that Jesse, but I mean we talk all the time about this stuff. So like when he pops in, like it's not a big deal. But like I don't know if other coaches like take that cue or not.
So I was gonna say for the attacking side, Joe, like I agree with you. I think it's gonna be all over the board in terms of what people want. Sometimes I think for me it depends on the third of the field,
Right.
and the moment. Like sometimes we're in the opponent's half, we want it. I'm not gonna lie. There's times my striker wins it. It's like, come on, you think you're gonna win it in that high pressure moment, and then turn and beat three people. When I'd rather, this may be my preference, or I see it happen enough times. I go, why not go back or out wide, and then we get back into our shape, and then we find a moment. So like I could see some coaches would say, immediately go to goal.
Right.
It'll vary. In the defensive third, I'm like, dude, if you could dribble out. I don't care. You just became the first attacker. Go.
Right. Exactly.
So I don't, I think it's based on the team. It's based on the matchup. I mean, it might change that day. There's times in the game, I'm like, look, they're flooding numbers forward in our defensive third. If you win that ball, find space however you can, and let's start that counter.
Right. That's why I think it'll be just good to give them more ideas, right? Like, because there's just so many things that you can do. There's so many ways to go about it, right? As opposed to it's this one way. Anyway.
Joe, that was really good, Joe.
Joe, do your girls realize that they're getting that numerical superiority when you're doing all your stuff? I mean, are they thinking that far ahead, or is it just all structural, just all automatic? Because it looks like your girls are putting themselves.
That's not me. That's Joaquin's team, actually.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I mean, I would say yes, because like I've seen a bunch of clips now from them, and they do have that. Like, it is somewhat automatic. But I mean, their recovery is really good, I have to say.
Right.
I think their pressure, like so that's Joaquin's thing. So I would like, his thing is immediate pressure, but like if you watch them, like they're a little bit more delay than they are immediate pressure.
Yeah, and in that game, they were still playing a 4-3-3.
Yeah.
We switched it to a 3-5-2.
Yeah.
Because of that reason.
When I did the webinar with them, I talked to them. I said, hey, it doesn't matter what position, what formation you're playing, right? Like, these principles still apply. Like, what position will do them will be different, and kind of where you have players. But I told them when I watched, there was another game that I watched, and I said, I thought they were in a back three because of the recovery. Like, there were a couple times where they had the back three as like, well, obviously like getting back, if that's the case. But I was like, yeah, Joaquin, I was really impressed. He goes, yeah, Joe, we were still playing a 4-3-3. I was like, oh.
Yeah. That's why we switched it, because it was weird, because they really struggled to recognize scenarios.
Yeah.
When to go, when not to go, when to do this. And so and I'm not a huge 3-5-2 fan at times, but it made their job simpler.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is what you do. And then they've done it ever since. And other than one game in Arizona, they've done really well with it. And because of that pressure, like Joaquin wants to put pressure. And I'm more the same type of person. Hey, let's put pressure. When we lose the ball, let's go get it back. And it made it more simple for their job. And they always have an outlet, which was their issue.
The back three in a lot of ways makes it simple, because the back three, like, I think when there's four, sometimes they feel like they always have like someone to bail them out, or it's like when it's back three, they're kind of like, oh crap, I got to do this.
Right. That's why you see. Well, that's why you see a lot of times you have the four back, and especially in the girls' game, and that one is almost back a couple more yards.
Yeah.
Right. So they kind of man mark or player mark the other three, and the other one gets to float. You see that a little bit more sometimes.
Yeah.
Because of that reason that you might have some cover, but trying to figure it out sometimes it's hard, because it's not an easy concept.
No.
And I think it's easier for girls, right? Because it makes their job. This is your job. This is what I do. Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, I think one of the other things with the boys is that, like, the ability to hit that cross-field pass.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're just quicker, right? So I remember, like, going back when I was in Indiana, I started coaching a boys team in the spring for the club, because I just wanted something different. And there would just be things that I'd be like, oh yeah, we're in, right? And I'd be like, no, we're not. You know what I mean? Like, there would just be things that, like, they close stuff down so much quicker, and like, if it isn't perfect, like, you're done, you're cooked. And it was like, it took me like 2 or 3 weeks to kind of be like, oh yeah, okay, I gotta readjust my here for the boys, because it just, I mean, and they were like, I think they were U15 or U16, so it wasn't like they were super old, but like, it was enough that it makes that difference, right? So like, some of the stuff is, you gotta account for it a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Getting your back three in the girls' game to slide across is a lot easier than it is in the boys' game.
Right.
I mean, granted, those three are probably faster, but like if your wing backs aren't getting back and helping on the boys' side,
you're in
we're
trouble.
doing it.
Yeah.
If you got three
you'll get
stud
destroyed.
female defenders and your wing backs aren't getting back, you're okay. Like you can still probably get by with it.
Yeah.
So Joe, you coached Ira Takachova, right? Left footer, left side, and she could hit that ball. One of the few players kind of in the MIAC. And yeah, there were times I'm like, no, if Ira gets it, I want you to look for that big diagonal. Like you find our 7, we'll get it. And it would work so many times. But it's rare to have a player on the girls' side do that. We're talking about transitioning to defend. I just tell my players, was it like 2-3 things? As soon as we lose it, like, immediate pressure, it's force their head down, force a negative pass. And in doing so, that allows us to just get organized, get compact. I don't necessarily expect them to like continue and chase. Like if we can, I maybe add to that like throughout the game, or if I know something about the team, but it's usually, can we accomplish that immediately? Don't deny forward movement, get their head down, force a negative.
Right.
And at least, I mean, on the girls' side, it to work well. I feel like our opponents usually panic a little bit. They're either going to give it to us or they will go back, and then we can get organized.
Yeah. Like I know,
I don't know.
They can't get it back within like 3 seconds or 4 passes or something like that. Then just reorganize.
That's what I do. I do 3 passes for the younger teams. I do 3 seconds for the older teams. Because at that point, they've probably switched the field already, especially in the guys' game, and you're like, okay, let's get back into our shape because we're gonna get caught. So, but cool. Yeah. If you want, I can ask people about different attacking situations, and they can
say, I mean, if they just want to talk about it on the thing.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll reach out to a couple people and say, would they want to talk for 2-3 minutes? And if
what we did in that last one was, so Sid actually jumped in. Sid Sen, when I did it with the 05s, jumped in and kind of was like, there was a clip, and she was like, "Can I talk?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she kind of talked them through a very specific situation, like, "Hey, this is what we've been telling you this. This is what we mean when we say this." And they were like, "Oh, okay."
Right.
So, I mean, it'll be the same thing. Like, hey, and like we could have coaches say, "Hey, in this scenario, and I can send it out earlier because it's almost, I mean, they can take a look at it and go, "Oh, yeah, okay, this is what I would ask our players to do in this situation."
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Ask a couple coaches and talk a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if they want. If they don't want, then they don't want.
Yeah. If people don't want to, they don't have to. But yeah.
Yep.
Joe, I'll be happy to chime in on how mine, when I have teams do it, it'll change based on the third.
Where were you this week?
Dude, you were like on fire, just going. I'm like, you know what? This is good. Only thing I would have chimed in on at the end there was you highlighted the player. It was her anticipatory skills, right? That made her. Yeah. She was picking up on every cue. She was ready to roll. My only comment would have been that for transitioning to anything, it's a lot of like, it's in your head. It's like, okay, you should be thinking about what's the next option for the attacker. Oh my God, she dribbled or he dribbled into a tight space. There's a chance we lose it. How could they get out? How can I start? I mean, it is all mental, and like holding mids need to be amazing at it. There's just certain players that are really good at it. You could see it on the field. They anticipate well. They're not reactive. So I don't know. It's really nice to see a team that's coached well, and as soon as it's won or lost, like the whole team.
Yeah.
You see
I think like
movement.
Bill was saying, like, is it just automatic? I think that's what you're trying to do, right? Is create it so it is automatic. Like there's not like you don't have time to think. Like she, if you asked her like what she saw, like she might be able to tell you.
Right.
She just felt it, and she reacted to the situation properly.
Yeah. I mean, like the time. It's like a baseball player. Like, how long do they have to figure out what pitch is coming and where it's going to be located to hit it?
Right.
Like, there's not a lot of thinking that like real deep thinking. I mean, there's thinking, but it's like it's because they've had so many repetitions doing it, right? And like they're picking up on cues, and applying those cues to this decision, then I mean, I think that's the key.
I agree.
And then how do
I
you
think
create
for
that in
players-
training, right? Like, what's the balance between things that are like, I don't know. Like you look at unopposed drills. All right, well, how many passing patterns do you do unopposed versus like, okay, put it into a rondo or something, and then we play a game. Like, how do you? What's that mixture?
Right.
It's like a recipe,
I have a game.
right?
Yeah, no, there's a game we play at St. Kate's a lot. It's it is a little tighter. Maybe it's 5v5 or 6v6, but if you score within 6 seconds of recovering possession, it's worth double. And obviously now everyone's there. Just what they see, their awareness is heightened. If we win it, what can we do? How fast can we get an opportunity? But the same thing too. If we lose it, I don't want you getting double. So as soon as we lose it, how fast can we organize? It starts chaotic, but then, it's like, hey, settle down. As long as you do these two things, you'll create a chance. These two, you'll slow them down. But the more they play that, I think the more comfortable they get, like working in that chaotic moment.
Right.
But I also think, like, you get a really competitive player, dude, you're going to be paying attention to all those things. You don't want to lose. You don't want to look foolish because you got caught ball watching while that striker took advantage of the moment and caught you sleeping. So, that's good players, I think, will notice that in their opponent. Like, ooh, can I take advantage of this player in a transition moment, and how?
Right.
I loved ball watching defenders. If they ball watch, I'm like, sweet, I'm going to drift away. We're going to try to make this person pay.
Yeah.
Because I'm slow. I'm never gonna beat him if it's a straight race.
Well, like you talked about Ira. Like I would invite Ira forward every time. And then and almost like invite her to hit that diagonal and then say, okay, so or I would take away the diagonal so she had to play a shorter diagonal pass in the middle, intercept that, and then try to hit right behind her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're fullback or something, or even whoever, you get whoever to force her inside. Okay, now once she's played the pass inside, she's done, right? But now float beyond her. Just float past her higher up towards our goal. And if we win it, you're the first look.
Yeah. You pick on a player.
One of her Achilles, like she'd take it upfield and then be like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Like nobody knew what she was going to do with it. So we'd lose the ball and we get counterattacked on her side.
Hey, that's why for her, I said you get to the edge of the final third, you're either ripping a shot or you're hitting across. I don't really want you going end line. She didn't have the recovery speed, right? In that foot race, she's going to hack you down at midfield. She'll get away with it once or twice. But
she started as a forward, so her dad was not happy when I was like, yeah, she can't play forward.
She ended up being a pretty good defender.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was good, Joe. I liked it. Thank you, man.
No problem. Thank you.
Good.
And I will see you guys. Is Joaquin going to use this account for his?
No, he's not. No, he's using something different.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll reach out to people, Joe, and see who wants to maybe communicate.
Yeah, I mean, nobody has to. I just it'd be good
if
we got
Yeah, I think it'd be good. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
See you guys.
Yeah.
I'm out of here too. All right. See ya.
Thanks, everybody.
What's that, Joe?
I said, if anybody has ideas for what's next, just in case we can't go out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
If we can't, even if we can go out, looking at some of the restrictions I've seen around the world, like, I don't even know if we want to go out. Like, some of them are like taking temperatures of kids coming to the field. And
yeah, I know. That's what I heard that too.
Your risk factor is so huge and it's uncontrollable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what happens if you're driving to your session and you got cruddy traffic or whatever, you got held up and you weren't able to scan everybody's forehead? And all of a sudden you got this big freaking lawsuit because someone's just looking to cash in. It's just like somehow that risk has to get annihilated where you don't even have that as a possibility, because you can't lose your club.